Hello, everybody, and welcome to DM Writer's Room, a show where we
Hello.
demystify the DMing process by coming up with monsters, magic items, and occasionally entire worlds, systems, settings, one-page RPGs, and other things live. Today, we are returning to the original ideal shores of world building as a part of DM Writer's Room, where we try to sit down and figure out a little bit of what the kind of world that you could play in at home is like. Now, we didn't know what we were going to talk about when we got started. But we did name the episode. People don't talk about this. You have to name the episode of a stream before you know kind of what's going to happen. You could probably change them after the fact.
Sometimes we talk it out a little bit where we're like, we're just going to bring a horror monster and then we can make some horror pun. But we didn't do that this time.
Here's the thing. We're busy crew. Two of us have full-time crazy full hours jobs, and the other of us is a professor and it is finals week. And so it is, I would say, kind of a difficult zone. So we have nothing. We named it brick by brick. So what is that? So we need to apply some of our improvisation muscles here and figure out what brick by brick means in this context. I think it means we've got to start with something exceptionally small. We have to start with like the smallest little corner of this world and expand from there. Or it means we start from basic principles. It means we start with nothing, nada, zilch, and we try to figure out a world without returning to tropes and the like.
The idea that I had just with brick by brick way, like kind of way
every time you start this long, you put up the hardest clunker in the world at the end of the sentence. Michael, I'm so nervous. Go.
It's okay. So what I feel, it's like the brick pathways, and when I think of brick pathways, I think of like Batman by Gaslight, the old Victorian, not Victorian, but like old European, but somewhat new technology stuff.
Industrial Revolution.
I hate to bring it to you. Old Victorian, I think, was perfectly correct. I think
It might be.
Right? Am I wrong?
I think that by Gaslight is, I think it's a little later. I do think that it's like 1810 or some shit. I don't think it's 1700s. 1800s.
But yeah, it's not quite steampunk. But it's
the late Victorian era, the 1880s and 1890s, is the Cthulhu by Gaslight setting. You got to remember, bud, more than one Queen Victoria.
Fair.
True.
More than one of them.
And they live a long time.
They really do.
They do.
So you're pitching a Gaslight world, Michael.
So you're saying
through word association with bricks.
So it's so this is a world. Okay. So the thing that Michael proposes is that the only thing that we know about this world is that they produce bricks at scale. They are manufactured and stamped. This is not some like Roman, I prithee, stones of cobble. This is like, no. There is a brick factory that makes bricks by like pressing into. How do you make a brick? That's how you make bricks, right? You got to pour them.
I know there's some like sand involved.
Yeah, it's not concrete. I know that much.
It's a wet mixture.
All right, let's do.
You gotta blow it in a furnace.
We're not blowing.
Whoa!
You gotta go into a furnace and you gotta blow the sand.
When did they? All right, cool. The brick was invented in 7000 BC.
That's what I needed to hear. So we're going to 7000 BC. We're gonna be building in that era.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, yes. Mid-19th century, the mechanically produced brick is invented. Okay, so the brick, as in like, we're going to make 20,000 bricks with a machine, is an 1850s thing. Great. All right.
Okay.
Huge initial question. Dungeons and Dragons or not?
I say yes. I feel like we've been fucking around in other systems for a while. Let's do a D&D world.
I think a D&D world Gaslight era is kind of cool.
Okay, D&D Gaslight, I like that. What do we know, right? We know when I imagine that, I'm imagining manufacturing. I just
Now-
wrote manufacturing.
That's pretty good, Manfu. Go ahead and write that down as a subclass.
See, I'm picturing like American Werewolf in London, those kind of monsters.
So manufacturing, smog, industry. What are some other gaslight style? A chimney sweep, governor. Like,
I picture serial killer, Jack the Ripper style.
Mm-hmm.
all right.
People flying kites trying to get the understanding of electricity, but not quite there yet.
What a good point. How much did we know about that funky stuff? Electricity question mark?
Now,
The American Civil War is just about to. No, I'm just kidding. It's not literally the
Throw that
1850s.
in there.
So let's.
We do a George R. R. Martin, Game of Thrones style. We make the American Revolution thrown in there.
Now we need to embrace some system problems that will immediately arrive, that will instantly
Yes.
arrive in Dungeons by Gaslight. Here's the thing: we don't need to worry about guns. We can just say that no one invented the gun. We can go so far as to say the saltpeter does not exist on this planet. There will never be a gun. It can't be. If there's gaslight, that means there's gas. If there's gas, that means that sometimes when a wizard casts fireball, the building should then explode.
Oh yeah.
How do we solve for that?
You just do a D100 roll, and if you roll bad, fucking the building explodes.
Because I love the idea that you're playing in a world with gas fixtures, and a major mechanic of the system is don't blow up the fucking neighborhood, dog. I love the idea that like a major integral mechanic is, hey, don't throw around lightning bolts. It could get so bad so fast. I think that's very fun. Because the implication, what most people would do, right, is they would be like, the gas has a magical bead in it that makes it inert, blah, 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 blah. How about the opposite? How about it's super dangerous and scary?
I could even see it being like fire magic is outlawed. If you get caught, you will go to jail.
In the city limits. In any city limits, it's outlawed.
So this is my next thing. So let's take a little step back. Let's figure out a little bit about setting and world.
I've got a big swing.
Scary.
If I'm picturing an industrialized D&D world, humans are not the ones who have made the world the way that it is. I think that the dominant species in this world would in fact be dwarves. That's number one of my big swing pitch.
So
number
one is
two of my big swing pitch. Go ahead.
The average being is a dwarf.
Yes.
I have some follow-up comments. I will wait.
Absolutely. Number two, the way they get their gas is via methane pockets deep underground. They have dug deep below and they've built like civilization above ground. In those pockets is where the gas is coming to create the gas light and the gas power technology above ground. And that's also where most of the adventures would take place, is within these massive cavernous dungeons that were created as a method of extracting like gas or diamonds, hunting for rare components, whatever. But I could see that as being a connection between the gaslight, the dwarves, and the town.
Okay. Here's my only follow-up, and it's a boring logistical one.
Absolutely.
I need dwarves to either not live that much longer than people, or I need there to not be that many dwarves. And one of those two things has to be it. Because if dwarves live as long as dwarves do canonically, and they are the most bountiful species, we just immediately run into a scale problem.
Yeah.
Where it's like, great, every dwarf lives 800 years, and they are the majority population. Humans would be so unwelcome and useless in that world that it would be comical. Like,
I personally take umbrage with the long-lived races in D&D in general because it's never accounted for.
My
Every place would be ruled by one elf who just figured out how to split the atom
yeah.
and is like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
God King now.
My
So no, I make them 80 years old and they die.
my go-to method, my personal favorite, one that I strongly recommend in when I do homebrew worlds, elves don't live 1,000 years. Elves reincarnate perfectly. They
I
reincarnate
do love
one to
this.
one, and elves that do the whole thing, that meditate on a mountain for years and decades, can sort of, in a way that is adjacent to some traditions on our own earth, can like connect to their past lives. And so occasionally what happens, right, is a traveling human meets an elf who looks old and remembers things that happened 800 years ago. And their dipshit brain goes, same guy been alive the whole time.
Yep.
Same guy been alive the whole time. And in actuality, it is somebody who is like speaking to their past selves in a way there. Okay. So like dwarves can live a little longer, but they don't need to live much
Sure.
longer. So that means so if I'm thinking about our world, Spencer, you've made a huge choice. I like the choice. It's
Yeah.
huge, which is the dwarf thing is kind of neither here nor there, which is it's not that there is an industry of collecting gas, compressing it down into a liquid state, and trucking, training, and airplaning it places. They are taking the inverse approach, which is these dwarven kingdoms are seeking out a gas pocket and building on top of it. I think that rules. And I think it also makes sense because I love the idea that in the early history of this world, either dwarves have always done it this way, which I think it's hilarious if dwarves are all just really into fracking. But a second option I like is the dwarves lived underground and then they broke into their first gas pocket. And the only way to safely use it was to move above ground where it can dissipate. And so you saw this, like, I don't know what to call it other than like a diaspora of the dwarves to the surface that, maybe caused some great conflict. So I only have one very important connected question. Do the dwarves abandon the city when the gas pocket runs out? Are we not worried about that because it's going to happen in 2,000 years? Or is the gas infinite for some cool reason?
I think that it typically doesn't happen very often. They do a lot of surveying to figure out how much gas is there, and if it's not enough, they don't build there. Like if it's not worth it, they don't do it. So with that surveying, has it happened? Yeah. They've been doing this for hundreds of years, say. So with that in mind, there are abandoned towns.
Maybe
and
they didn't
abandoned
understand that
cave system
at first, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't understand that was true.
And that's where we get like the abandoned shit.
That also gives you this really fun energy where normally, right, there's an archetype of storytelling in like English and Welsh, like folk hero, not like antiquated ones, like semi-modern folk hero tales, that is the abandoned silver mine and the old man who refuses to give up on the town who finds a new vein of silver. I like the idea that the miners for these great cities are in a constant, never-ending search for more gas pockets. Like it is, the great search is not for silver, it is not for gold anymore. It is always for more of this natural gas that can be discovered below ground.
That is very fun.
Okay.
I forgot about music, sorry.
Where does it...
All good.
Guys, where does the gas come from? We're getting into questions we don't need to answer, but that my ass wants answers for, which is like, is this world like ours? Is it compounded plant material from the dawn of time? Is it biomass? Is it arcane in some way? Is it an after effect of the birthing of the world? Like, ooh, I got questions about where that gas comes from.
My pitch is it's like Dune, where it's the deceased bodies of giant, I'll say worms or other creatures that burrow.
Don't tempt me to have the world be the corpse of a dead god and its bloated gases are what we use to power cities, Michael. You know how deep I will get into that.
Oh, I know.
Look at the fear in Spencer's
Yeah.
eyes.
I was gonna pitch Tarask-esque core of the world. So
have to be
Mhm.
yeah, I think a
so
dead being is
we have to be
sick.
so cautious that we don't get Tarask farts in the mix. We
TF,
gotta be
you know how it goes.
so careful. Okay.
I'm gonna give this one more try.
So let me
See if
get
that
to
music
let me get
works.
to a fresh page here because we've changed a lot. All right. So
Okay.
number one, the most important thing that we have learned is that our dominant, maybe not dominant. No, let's call it dominant. Let's lean into it. Our dominant group here are the dwarves. And I think that the reasoning behind that isn't too difficult. Let's say a good chunk of time ago, the dwarves literally, right, they discovered the properties of natural gas. The properties, yeah, of natural gas. I think that prior to this point, other groups had maybe encountered it, but to them it was just a mysterious poison. You walk around, you enter a room, somebody walks in front of you, and you just watch them drop dead. You don't know why, they don't know why. Imagine it from an outside perspective, right? Imagine you're in a magical world where you can delve into the ground deeper than we could safely. You break into another thing, into something, and all of a sudden, everyone passes out, and anyone who's too far away to pass out starts having strange dreams and speaking in tongues. They're, carbon monoxide poisoning. Like, from the outside, it would appear deeply magical. And I think dwarves in this world discover what actually is happening. They find out how it works. And there's this massive technological boom, right? They immediately become this extremely powerful force, and they tightly guard the secrets until they can't anymore. And I think we join after they cannot keep the secrets anymore. It's been 50 years, and now other groups are using these things. The technology is rapidly spreading, and that way there is a little bit less weird, like, dwarven nationalism at the heart of our setting. We can take a pretty easy step back from that by just setting it far enough forward that the cat's out of the bag. Spencer, you clearly had an idea halfway through that.
If it is super magical seeming, I do think that it would be cool if there are monsters that are in these caverns that do produce methane, just sort of as a byproduct of existing there. So the deeper you get, the more powerful those things are, the more likely there's a buildup of methane. And at the core, there is that bloated corpse, and these monsters come from that bloated corpse,
Yeah.
beholder style.
So number one, let's name it anything other than methane. Because none of us know enough about gas. So I love the idea. So there's an ecosystem here, and I'm really into that. I kind of like, it's almost giving me like orcs from Warhammer 40k, the closed ecosystem of orcs. Those of you who don't know, orcs in Warhammer 40k are a bioweapon. If an orc dies, they explode into spores, and those spores hatch into orcs, goblins, and the food that orcs and goblins eat, and they begin to like propagate that way, which is why anytime orcs arrive on a planet, that planet has essentially been lost the minute that they've arrived. So I like the idea that one of the major iconic monsters of this world is where the gas comes from, and the population needs to be very carefully regulated below the cities, which I think is fun. I think that they're searching for the gas pockets, and maybe later they discover that they are accidentally also searching for these, fucking Tyranid-style subterranean monsters that need to be held at bay. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a pretty fun idea, and I think it's a good adventure hook to constantly be going back and forth with these creatures that you can't just wipe out. So where do these things come from? Do we like the idea that they are part of some impossibly large hive that there is only one great matron of? Or is this a more like how bees work, where there are many, many, many hives spread across the world?
I think there are many, many, many hives.
I'm always reticent to have there be big evil thing at the center of the planet, just because you've got to be careful setting something up that every campaign is going to be like, that's the final boss, right? Like that's the final
No, he did it.
That's the final boss over there, right? It takes a lot of freedom away. It's like how Morkborg wants you to all die in the apocalypse. Everybody I've ever talked to who has played Morkborg for too long eventually is like, no, we did save the world. Because if you play the game too long, you just run out of other shit to do. And it's like, if the world's ending and that's the center of your campaign setting, that's what you're gonna do at the end of the setting. Like, it's kind of right there.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that they're a little more spread out. So let's try to start figuring some more things out about the world, because we're probably going to be doing this for a little while. Since this is our kind of key connection here, what are these creatures and where do they come from? Are they a natural being? Are they beasts of some sort? Are they, because if we're using D&D parlance, right? A beast is a natural entity. It is part of the circle, right? Normal. A monster is a magical being. It is something that is innately magical. It is not natural. It is, in fact, supernatural. And then aberrations are full out. We've gone too far. Turn around. We've left magic behind, and we've entered question mark. My first instinct is to say aberration just because hive, but we don't need to.
My swing is involved. It brings gods into the situation a little bit. It's cursed beasts that turn into monsters.
Okay, so there was a terrible curse on something or somebody, and these creatures are the result of that.
Correct.
So let's write. I'm gonna write terrible divine curse.
Which could make it fun, where you see these things up on the top world, but they don't do anything with this gas stuff.
Yeah, unrelated. And then you see their monsterified, messed up version down below.
Okay, I see what you mean. So we're kind of headed in like the drow direction, a little bit.
A little
this
bit.
idea that it is this banished. So then, big question. We got to be real. They can't be sentient, right?
No, they're beasts,
No.
and then
But how
cursed.
does a beast fuck up so bad that they get giga cursed by God? My first thought was, this is not a curse on these beasts. It is a curse on the dwarves, and we hit the classic dug too deep, right? They dug too deep and they wounded a god. Maybe in this world the gods slumber in the earth, literally physically they slumber there, and if they are disturbed, well, we only know what happened one time, because it happened one time. The dwarves dug too deep, and this god like placed a malevolent curse and created these terrifying beasts to hunt those that had disturbed it. It also makes that, at least that got a huge shithead.
Now, my pitch would be, if we wanted to stick with there being a dead god in the core, I think all the gods sleeping below ground is incredible. This one happened to die. If the gods had like a packed animal, basically, a thing, their emblematic creature, each of them has one. If this god died, all of those creatures would be cursed because they've fallen out of its grace because this god is dead. And I think that would be pretty cool. And that's why it's haunting around the grave of where the god is, because it's still in this monstrous form seeking out that divine grave.
The smallest twist. Are these creatures looking for the dead god? That's I just always love that. Like, are they looking
I think
for it?
so.
Do they seek it? And, like, to some end, to eat it? I don't know what. It's always my first impulse that the creatures are looking for it.
I think they're looking for it. And the cool idea that I would say is, if all of these creatures congregate, or enough of them congregate at the corpse of the god, God can come back. I think it brings it back if they get there. But it was killed while it was miles and miles and miles underground. And so these creatures typically can't get that deep. But they're using the dwarves' tunnels as an attempt to get there. Mindlessly. They're not thinking about it, but that's what they're doing.
Now, why do we not want them to do that?
Why don't we want them to bring the
come
god
back
back?
Was this god, like, absolutely... Is this is this the kind of situation, because I can see this going one of two directions. One is morally dubious, the other one is morally correct. The morally dubious option is, why don't we want them to stop? This god died before the mortal races existed. This is not something that passed. This thing didn't pass away like 500 years ago, and some elves whisper of its name. This is like, no. 70, not even 70, 10 million years ago, the god of the Sitheranax died. We don't want them to bring it back because we use the gas for our civilization, and I don't give a shit about some 20 million year old dead god. I would say that is still morally dubious, right? These creatures are trying to bring it back. There's clearly some sense of will there. I don't have a problem with it. I think it kind of rules. Option 2 is this god died like 8,000 years ago because we killed it. This is Sauron. This is not even Sauron. This is, I don't remember his name. Sauron's dad. What's Sauron's dad's name?
Sauron's dad's name is...
It's not literally Sauron's dad, but...
Iluvatar.
No.
Iluvatar.
No, the Iluvatars, is all of them.
My pitch, not my pitch, but my agreement is on first option, where
Morgoth.
we just don't care enough about it, because that also makes it so it's more believable that there's more pockets out there.
Well, let's
One of
chat
these
it out
gods
a
have
little
died.
bit. So the alternative is this was a shithead. This was Groomsh. This was Morgoth. This was something that had to go. And now these creatures are trying to get it back, and part of the reason that this fight is happening is to keep the gas there, and the other part is to be like, we don't want Morgoth back. So we can go that direction, or we can go we know it is the body of a god because the other gods are in a similar state and work similarly. No one remembers this thing. It is truly ancient. And we don't... What do you mean, why don't we want it back? We don't know what kind of thing it is. We don't know anything about it. What happens if the god of T-Rexes comes back? Like, what's going to happen if the god of Velociraptors comes back? I don't fucking know, but I don't think I want to find... There's like
Probably
9
bad.
movies about what a bad idea it is to find that out. Is that the direction we're leaning? I know Michael's...
Hear me out.
I
This
just
god was
realized
killed
how funny it is to say, hear my pitch.
Listen now.
Hear ye, hear ye. A proclamation from me. No. This god died a long time ago. Thousands of years ago. It is the only god to have died in any recorded history. We know that this god is dead. We don't know why, and we don't really know what he was in charge of. I think that the workaround that I would have to make this, like, questable is nobody knows that these creatures are trying to bring the god back. These creatures have always been around as far as everybody in the modern world is concerned. They're just monstrosities that live underground. Not that big of a leap to assume that people wouldn't question it beyond that. Like, hey, what are they doing down here? I don't know, fucking around in the caves. That's what they do.
So this is
So
like...
if you find out the truth, it would be through, like, godly intervention. Maybe the god who killed him would tell you the information, or somebody who wants him back would tell you. But nobody knows about that.
I think there's a really fun pitch there, which is that is just a big mystery in the world because of where we are. If we're tapping into this, like, gaslight, it's gonna have to get imperial, guys. I'm sorry, if we have that much metal, then somebody went somewhere to get it. Like, you can't just find that much metal wherever you are, right? You need to go get metal somewhere where there's metal and bring it back to where you are. Unless you're conveniently on a gas pocket and a food pocket and an iron pocket and a copper pocket, which is doubtful. It's probably not what happened. So
All the iron comes from the god's shield that was on him.
no. So if we're going
A meteor.
a truly Neolithic then, right? So we need to go just before. This would be somewhere between like a Mesopotamian, like 6,000 year old god, and maybe even a little like a proto, like think early Neolithic revolution, like you plant crops and then there's bad weather, like an early deity. If anybody ever worshipped this thing, if this wasn't just the god of these bug creatures. I think that rules. I also, can I say something? I'm so excited to be building a fantasy world with a normal timescale. That's
Yeah, right?
huge for me. I hate the
18 million years ago when humans...
45,000, 100. I'm like, dude, you gotta relax. You gotta chill. Take a chill pill, man. This is not gonna work for me. So
Fun idea with it.
go ahead.
Just fun idea with the world itself. Cities usually get made on rivers or lakes and all that, big water sources. It could be we're more worried about the methane here. It could be that this was like a god of the river that was here and it's dried up because it's dead. So there's this riverbed that is nothing now. It could be something.
Yeah, I mean, if it is the god of rivers, like in general, I'm always reticent to have it be a hyper local river god that died, because then my question is, how is it all over the world? Like, how is this something where the dwarves are
God
expanding?
rivers then.
I do like, I mean, no matter what you're saying is true. You need water because you just need it. So it's always, you're either by the ocean or by a river or by a lake or what have you. I think that's definitely true. I do like the idea that maybe this thing, I like, if going off of what you're talking about, I do kind of like the idea that there's like a great gas derrick on a lake or something. You know, maybe we could lean into having both be in the same location, and that's why this place is so like major to the area. The god of rivers has died, but then why are there rivers? You just quickly tap into questions like, if when this thing dies, all of its creations turn into wild abominations, does that mean that all fish are like... Does that mean if the god of rivers dies, all fish are fucked up? Like all
We don't fuck
oysters
with fish.
Only
and
the
mussels?
freshwater ones.
Are they just suck to look at? My other point was, because of where we are, we need to keep in mind of where we are historically if we want to be in the Industrial Revolution. In which case, I don't think we can say nobody has any idea what's going on with these creatures, because at this point they are so central to the ecosystem and the economy. I think they know that these creatures are looking for something, and that's all they know, and that sucks. I don't think they're a complete mystery, just because I gotta be real.
That's how
I
people
just
work.
feel like the writing of that, like, what do you mean? So wait. So the center of your economy and world, you guys are like, what are they up to? Like, you know, these things are getting dissected and studied. I like the idea that they're like, no, they're tracking something. What are they tracking? How do you know? They never go down the same tunnels. They aren't building a hive. They don't go back and like spit. They're not the aliens from Alien. They don't go back and like build nests. They go to the next cave, and then the next cave, and then the next cave, and then the next, and the next, and the next. It's slow, but these things like digging and slowly spreading out, and then eventually somebody realizes like, wait, it's not an ant colony. Like, they aren't using the rooms that they've dug up. They slowly, over hundreds and hundreds of years, like, drag their brood queens deeper below ground. And I love the idea of some scientists being like, they're looking for something. What are they looking for? We have no idea. Every year they go deeper. Every year they go further. We have no idea what they're doing down there. We don't know what they're trying to find. And there's no way for us to know.
There would be reports of them, like, the deeper the dwarves dig, the more activity they find of these creatures following in behind them.
That sucks.
Like, they want to go down the path of least resistance. If the dwarves dig 10 miles deep, they're going to go down the 10-mile deep tunnel. And there's going to be a bunch of them.
See one thing. I was hello to Dollar Boy. Thank you for the follow.
Hey, what up, Dollar Boy?
I like the idea a lot that there is almost a like Helldivers Deep Rock Galactic thing going on, where it's like, oh, we need to send soldiers down with the mining crews. Why? Every time a mining crew goes down, they show up. Why? They show up every time Do they try to
They
stop
like to be
them?
down there.
Do they try to stop them from mining? No.
They'll
Like,
eat them.
They eat them, but they don't eat them first. Does that make sense? Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? Like, I love the idea that these things arrive. They immediately swarm across the cave, explore every single corner, and then it's dangerous because then they stop. And I love the idea that it's like when they first show up, I don't think anybody panics yet. I think they first show up and somebody like starts a timer. And it's like, just keep moving. Don't bump into any of them. Don't disturb them. Don't get close to any of the ones that look like this. But you can keep going for like an hour while they explore. And then you fucking have to leave. You have to leave. Because they'll get hungry. They've just spent the last 3 hours running down your mine shaft and digging. Now they're hungry and you gotta go. Like now
And you're the only
food.
thing around. So I'm gonna hit you boys with a pitch that I'm not even sold on, but it did pop into my head, so I need to say it out loud.
Right.
We said dwarves are the dominant species of this world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we said there's a dead god whose creations have gone sour in an attempt to find him. What if this was just a god of humans and humans don't exist and these things are the twisted, monstrous human creation that are seeking out this god? No sentience. These are twisted monster aberrations that are just after the god. But that's where humans would have been.
My only issue is we are playing in the system Dungeons and Dragons and there's a human offering.
No humans.
It just doesn't we can do it that way. I gotta be honest, that just doesn't actually work. I've run games. You say you're not allowed to play humans, and 3 of the players say, well, I'm gonna play a human then. And you go, right? We
Yeah, I
can.
mean
It's just
that's a DM job. You
we
just say
immediately
no, you're
run
not.
into- Okay, if we want to just write it out,
Again,
that's fine.
I'm not sold on the idea. I don't think that should be the reason we don't do it, though. If the world says humans don't exist, humans don't exist. You don't play them.
I guess it just, yeah, we can go ahead with it. It just feels a little... Whenever decisions like that happen in these games, I can always feel somebody doing that, like turning to look at the camera with one
They're
eyebrow.
humans.
They're the humans. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to say that, and canonically, all the players are going to go, what's a human?
Yep.
Like, it's a bit that has no pay. It's like the second, I have a perfect example. They remade all the Star Trek movies, right? They remade Star Trek. And in the second Star Trek movie, Benedict Cumberbatch shows up and he's dressed all in black. And he does a bunch of evil shit. And then he turns and he goes, my name is God. And objectively, all of those
Nobody has any
characters should
idea.
go, who gives a fuck? Like, it doesn't mean anything to them.
Uh-huh.
So we can make them humans. How do we make that pay off? Because it can't just be they're humans. And it's like, my guy doesn't know what a human is and he's never seen one. He goes,
No,
oh, so that's
it
what a
would-
human is. So how do
What
we
it-
fold into the world this, like, the missing people?
That's exactly it. There would be references to, like, 10,000 years ago when this god was killed. There'd be references to another species that did exist. People would know that there was a sentient people that went away. You would have to seed this wildly separate from what's going on here, so people don't just immediately go, I know what this is. They know that elves exist. They know that other sentient species exist. Humans are just the thing that happened to go away.
It definitely pushes us in a very morally gray direction. Because now what you're saying is, by stopping these creatures, you are denying them sentience. We can do that. But if we're doing that, the tone of this world changes in, like, a pretty drastic way.
Yeah.
How do we feel
And
about
I think
that? Like,
I-
because humans
Go ahead.
normally play the role, right, of the quickly expanding, quick-thinking race that spreads very fast. That's normally why people don't like them in most of the D&D settings, is they are the newcomer. All of the other races are ancient, and they were created in the image of their gods, and they have deep ties to mythology. And I hate to break it to you, most of the time, D&D humans evolved from monkeys and showed up, and all the dwarves and elves were like, what the fuck is that thing? And it's
That thing's crazy.
And it's the chimpanzees that climbed out of the trees, and now they're making swords, right? That is canonically how that usually ends up going. So, like, in the setting, how do we fold that in without it being deny humans their sentience and their god, the campaign? Like,
I think that this would, because we're building the world, I think that that'd be a campaign question more than anything. But it's a choice of our society functions because these things exist and this god is dead. If we bring that god back, our society and the way we live will collapse. It'll bring back a sentient race, or it'll start a new sentient race, you know, whatever, but it'll be with that as the core. But at the expense of my entire world's current happenstance.
I think
So it is morally gray.
I think
you probably should bring them back, but there's also an argument to be made that no, of course you shouldn't. And that's the campaign question.
I think
will
we
you
should,
do it or will you not?
I think we should just make bringing the god back bad. If we're gonna
Okay,
go in this deep
cool.
and you want to do the humanity thing, I think when the god comes back, it's shitty and bad is the only thing we can
Yeah.
do. Because this is just, I'm immediately like, this is what every campaign in our world is about. Every single campaign becomes, do you save humanity or do you not? And it gives us that moment of like, they're men. It's like, great, all right, for sure. Why not make them
They can
Azamar?
think.
Why do they have to be the thing that we're all gonna identify with? Because why not make them Azamar then? Why not have them be the Godchild race? And the Godchild race is the one that was taken or something. I think what we can do is we can have it be humans and have this be the great apocalyptic dipshit maneuver of the past. Is the humans did something stupid, they killed their god, and it turns out that no, killing your god doesn't give you divine power. Giving your, like,
Yeah.
I love the idea of some, like, quick talking Ben Shapiro motherfucker in the humans' distant past being like, if we kill the god, then if you think about it from a deterministic perspective, we would each gain some spark of sentience. They did it and instead turned themselves into monsters.
Got cursed.
And so then I think that we can solve this by just saying, like, if they bring it back, they're not gonna gain human sentience. It's Nito the Grave Lord from Dark Souls. Like, it's just gonna suck. They're whatever they bring back is gonna be this mad death god that will want to corrupt and consume the world, right?
I think it would be cool if the god that the humans killed, they did it on purpose. They wanted to kill the god because the god was always evil. And in so doing, the god just cursed humanity because humans were the ones that killed it. But if you bring the god back, that's fucking awful. But the curse that the humans have makes them want to go bring it back because they're cursed. Of course, the curse the god put on them is going to make them want to bring the god back.
Okay. So just shifting the camera, let's look at what we know. Right? Distant past, humans were the first up to bat. We know that because no one else remembers this god. Right? So humans had to be the first to jump onto the world stage, and they beefed it and killed themselves shortly thereafter, and then the rest of the races emerged. And I love that because something I do like the vibe of is a great way to seed this is we don't have the ruins of lost Netheril. We have the ruins of humanity. You find the ancient Terran ruins that are full of pictures of strange, smooth-eared men, like manfolk.
Tall, freakishly tall.
I like that. I think that's very fun. It also gives me a lot of incentive to play with the morphology of our characters. I like hard fantasy. I want my elves to be 6'9" and incredibly thin, and I want
Willowy.
dwarves to be, 5'6" at the tallest and like bizarrely large through the shoulders and have stone skin. So that a human that is in the middle that has this build would look you'd be like, whoa. To your characters,
That's
would
not right.
immediately seem mythological and strange, right? This very odd-looking thing. So humans are the first up to bat, and somehow, we haven't settled on why yet or how, they kill their god. Maybe it's on purpose, maybe it isn't. All we know is that the effect of doing that is humans have become these Humans have become these like
Monsters.
consuming gas creatures. Fast forward so far, it's wild. Dwarves discover the gas. And then we get industrial age. I think that's all really cool. And that's our base principles that we've learned from this. So let's look at what else we now know. Number one, there are gods. There are.
Yes.
There are gods. The god of humans, when it died, had the ability to curse every human to be a subterranean aberration that would spend the rest of eternity looking for its corpse. Does that mean every
Hardcore.
time we come up with a mortal race, we need to come up with a god?
I think yes. And I could see that being a tie-in with why humans killed the god to begin with.
And is there always only one? Was our world made by the great makers 10, each of whom made one mortal race? The first made man, the second elves, and they came together and made the world and made the mortal races. And that is the Council of Gods, upon which there is... My God, talking! No, you go.
I know.
Upon which there is one empty seat. Maybe that's the sole indication, right? When seers go on their ayahuasca vision quests and peer onto Mount Olympus, there is an empty chair. I think that would be kind of interesting. The Hall of the Gods has an empty seat, and no one will speak of it, right? The gods refuse to speak. No mortal races remember, is one of the options that we have. The other option is the gods are like capital G concepts that speak through the whispers of the wind, and they don't, and then we can kind of soften our focus a little bit. Michael, what were you going to say?
You said each race only has one god. I think we have one dual gods that tried to make a race together, and it didn't come out great. Yet these like twin beings where they're almost like sewn together.
Well, because for the record, we do need to come up with an entire suite of new races. We can't use most of the D&D ones. Like, we can't use like 90% of them. So
I feel like that's pretty unique work if we want a dual god.
Like Stitch.
I do like that. There's a race in D&D already that is like your mind has a separate spirit.
You talking about the fucking Kalishtar, dog?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Kalishtar. So that would be
cracking
in
the
my
spine
head.
on Eberron. Like, what is?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, where if the two gods were creating it, the one makes the form and the other creates the soul, and they are not linked properly because they just didn't know how to do it right. Very cool. Here's my. Go ahead.
No, you do.
My Pantheon pitch. We open with an overgod. I do like the idea of overgods, and it's fun. The overgod created the Pantheon of gods as we now know them. That overgod went away. These gods still exist in this world. The firstborn son is the one who created humans first, and he prevented the other children from making their own races, their own species.
Oh, he declared himself the new overgod, rather
Exactly.
than ruling by council.
Exactly. So when the humans slayed him, probably at the behest of the other gods, whispering in their ears about like their brothers and sisters that they'll never get to meet, they go and they kill that god, and they're cursed. Now the other gods get to create their own species. I think that's pretty fun.
The other gods for sure knew that was going to happen too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? For sure. They just wanted to do their own thing.
Which also helps me understand why no one knows. We take we take nobody else knowing as like, whatever. Maybe were there any, had the other gods made like Zeus and co style, like illegitimate children that they hid from the eldest brother? Or was it fully humans and the other races humans are the dinosaurs. They never coexisted.
I think they never coexisted, and that's why nobody has these tales. They only have a reference on the planet, like the surface of the planet.
Okay.
I can see there being like like one, and then that god came down and smote that one civilization.
And you've got a big crater field where that creation was destroyed, and yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Let's do 3, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12. How many? One's dead.
I
3,
like
6,
10.
10.
So we'd be down to 9.
10.
Yeah, that sounds
Oh,
good.
the 9 and 1. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
10. Okay, Overgod, 10 children. Overgod leaves. Overgod leaves. Eldest claims rule. Makes humans. Bitter, tyrannical, right?
Yeah,
The
just a jerk.
other-
They make
The other
humans. They make humans to be servants for it. Like it you know, it is very much the like God Emperor kind of vibe. Other gods conspire, and I think trick humanity.
Yeah.
I think if you go back, 1 second, trick humanity into killing their god, cursing themselves. And I think if you go back, I always like the idea of the gods being like, we never lied. We never lied to them. And I think we could go one of two ways with that. One is, I really like, if we want to go the heroic angle, I do love the idea of the other gods explaining the situation and humans going, all right, someone needs to do something. And knowing what's going to happen, if that's true, then when you delve into human ruins, you find records, you find detailed histories of how we killed our god, why we killed our god, why this had to happen, the things that led up to it. You find time capsules and treasures, and you find dungeons that are made like dungeons where you're always like, what the fuck is this for? Why would you want a bunch of traps pointed towards whoever's walking inside? Why not just lock it? Why set traps? I like the idea of them being like, we needed future people to someday find these things, and we needed the agents of our god to not find it. So it needed to be open, but nearly impassable, but not quite impassable. I like the energy of humans deciding to end themselves to do that. The other option that I also love is the manipulation, is you watch back the old memories, you put an orb on a stand and your mind is projected to the past, and the gods are always like, you will save the people yet to come. Like, you will save the world. And always, if you listen, the gods do have a justifiable but like a through line of being like, we never said they would save themselves. Do you have a preference? I obviously love the crash the ship into the, crash the ship into the black hole to shut it, like, is always my preference. But
honestly, I kind of prefer that the gods were so desperate that they told half-truths to get humans to do it, knowing all along that this would happen. Because it's a hard spell to be like, and yeah, your mom and your brother and your uncle and your nieces and nephews, they're all going to turn into decrepit monsters. But everybody else gets to have a better life. It's like, it's a little fucked up.
I wonder if you could... Yeah, I think we have to go that way. The difference that I would enjoy would be, like, some people knew.
Yeah.
The small council, like, came to realize what would happen. Specifically what I would do for no reason is there would be like the blade of a hero who famously, I love the idea that there's a hero who famously killed himself, and everyone was like, he was like this hero at the dawning of the new age when the god was going to be killed. This hero like ran himself through with his sword, and that sword is now a +3 Holy Avenger Greatsword. And as you are following it, you realize that this hero learned the truth and knew he would tell people.
Yeah.
And didn't want to tell anyone. Like, knew he wouldn't be able to not tell people. And so
would
did
probably
the only
try and
thing it could.
stop the team that was going to kill the god. And was like, I can't do that. Gotta kill myself. pretty cool.
I love the idea of being able to logic yourself out because of the distance. Being able to say, like, oh, I know this now. If I go forward with this knowledge, I will stop them. And I know I can. Like, not only will I,
but
I can. So I
and
have
I can't
to not.
live. I can't live with myself if I don't stop them, and I can't live with myself if I do stop them. Gotta end it.
Okay, so let's...
That could be fun, story wise. Like there could be stories that you find homes where he's Rayma as a coward that he was so subservient to the god that he decided to kill himself rather than go through with it. And then you find the sword, there's etchings of like his final will on it.
The twisted teachings of the people that ended up killing the god being that he was a coward who wouldn't face it, but his own etched blade that was bathed in his blood is really fucking cool.
So
really cool.
Our next big step that I think we need to take is, so what are a group of adventurers, what are they doing in this setting, right? We have a little bit of how the gods work. We know we're going to make other gods. I love the 10 and 1, the 9 and 1, and I like that we're going to make 9 races. We know one of them looks like dwarves, and one of them should look like elves, because everybody loves an elf. And then we just have to figure out 7 others, and that's, I don't think, the hard part, right? Here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to play in the Forgotten Realms, and what are you doing? You're delving into dungeons, you're stopping cults, you're looking for magical secrets. You individually are actually not very powerful in the Forgotten Realms, right? You're stopping like one asshole's plan, and that's your campaign most of the time. If you're in Eberron, you're caught up in the war almost always, right? It is all about outlaws and bandits and these wars that pull Eberron back and forth constantly, and you're having to kind of navigate that. Ravnica is all about factions and about playing your house and playing the houses against each other. It's like hyper political. I'm trying to think of others. Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, right? Ravenloft is all about these like terrifying pocket dimensions that you need to go in, and you're kind of a dimension hopper always eventually, right? If you play in Ravenloft, it's always about like jumping from place to place trying to connect a larger mystery. What are we doing in Gaslight? What are we doing? Yeah, let's a tentative setting, right? What are we doing in Gaslight? Is it about this stuff? Is it about discovering the secrets of the ancient world? Is it about delving down below the ground? I don't think it needs to be. That's like one option, right? Is it about living in these cities, getting to know the people, and constantly being in this struggle with the dark that is below you, that you rely on and also, need to try to avoid? Or are we getting too squirrely? I think we might be getting a little squirrely. So I want to ask, like, what do we think this game is about? Why do you boot up this setting? Because like in Dragonlance, right, you're joining the war, you're saving the world, right? This is very heroic. What kind of characters do we imagine being in this world? And what the hell are they up to? Like, what are they doing? Are they solving mysteries? Are they saving the world? Are they saving their city? Are they going on like Morkborg style mercenary quests to get gold and collect bullshit? Like, what are we doing here?
To me, it feels like the easiest answer is this is a dungeon crawl world. We've seeded dungeons that have items of great power and knowledge. We've seeded that there are cavernous systems below the Great Dwarven cities that are haunted by at least one type of monstrosity, likely many more, and that there are points of safety within those cities that's not below ground.
The name for this kind of setting is Points of Light.
Yeah.
There are small pockets of safety, and you venture out and then come back. And not a lot happens in the Point of Light. It's not the kind of place where you're saving that city 1-to-1 a lot of the time. Maybe by like tier 3, tier 4, right? A dragon shows up or some bullshit. But almost all of the time, you say, all right, we're in this city. We need to address this problem. Rumor has it that the elves to the north have an artifact that would do what we need them to do. I guess we'll go steal it, or go ask them where they got it, or try to understand it so that we can make one ourselves. You go to the north and whatever. I think that's great. So if we want to go Points of Light, I have a few questions that I think we need to answer. Why is the world so fucking dangerous? Like, why is the world so dangerous and unsettled? Because it's the 1850s equivalent. The world shouldn't be dangerous anymore. By the 1850s, there wasn't a lot to be afraid of other than cholera. Like, you either got so sick that you died, or you kept living. Like, that was the two things that happened. You could reliably have 10 kids. They would reliably have enough food. I know somebody in the comments right now was like, actually, malnutrition is not dying of starvation. Malnutrition just sucks. Like, so why is the world so dangerous? Is this something that has happened? Like, is something going on that's making the world so dangerous? Or are we just leaning into the fact of like, hey man, imagine if sometimes in the woods it wasn't a wolf, it was an adult green dragon. Like, are we just leaning into...
Let's be for real about how dangerous that is.
Yeah, are we leaning more into that? In which case, because my big question is, if the world is dangerous for some other reason, then we can keep encounters roughly the same and dungeons roughly the same. If the world is dangerous because we are acknowledging how dangerous the world would be in a D&D setting, that tells me some stuff about what it's like to play. It tells me that if you go to the wrong place, you die. If you turn the wrong corner, if you take on more than you should, if you bite off more than you can chew, no one's coming to rescue you, big dog. You shouldn't have gone there. There's an adult green dragon in them hills. You're dead now. You fucked this.
Thought I was having was because the big god, daddy god left, it kind of left the world unprotected in a sense, and so each of these 10 kind of, we'll say, claimed an area, have like protection over an area, but there's like gaps sort of, and in those gaps are, my first thought was like aboleth shit.
And it also helps because we're short a god. All the pieces of the puzzle aren't there. If it's a 1,000-piece puzzle, 100 of them weren't in the box. What happens when that puzzle piece isn't there? I think is a really good question. I like the idea that maybe that's where aberrations come from. Humans were bent into this shape, and maybe that's like the least bad side effect. Like, that's the most minor side effect. So is the... Okay. So we still need to answer this question. So is the world dangerous then because there is this eldritch, aberrant danger where venturing out and going to the wrong place could mean you get swallowed up by a black hole, essentially? Or are we leaning more into the world is just extremely dangerous? Other options, just that we can, for those of you tuning in, welcome to DM Writer's Room, show where we demystify the DMing process. We're creating a little bit of a world right now, and this is a question that I would recommend as a DM you ask yourself. Adventuring in your world is dangerous, right? It has to be, because otherwise everyone would do it. If everybody could make thousands of gold pieces delving into ancient mines, why wouldn't they all do that? Like, that's crazy. Of course everybody would do that. So, like, what makes it so dangerous? And our question right now is, if we want to have a points of light setting, that means that the entire rest of the world is dark. Why? What is happening? What is making life here so brutal and difficult that steam engines and guns and light and gas and medicine aren't enough to settle it, aren't enough to spread? How is it not enough? Like, what's going on out there? Michael's got a good idea with the aberration thing. Spencer, your thought?
I think, there's probably aberrations and fucked up stuff in really specific areas where human settlements were probably more prevalent. Going to those places is a very bad idea until you are a very high level. That's the point of them. I think that the gods had a choice to try and pool all of their power and pull double duty to protect the entire world down 10% effective power with that dead god, or they could each lay out their influence where populations are and make those spots very safe. And they said, we're just going to do the points of population, and the rest of the wild is going to be what the rest of the wild is.
Bitch.
Yes.
Is this why the gods are slumbering? my
because
pitch,
they're working so hard.
constantly focused on protecting their children. Like, it is not.
That's pretty cool.
This is not some passive thing. It is a constant and unending battle for them to like push back the necrosis of the 10th god. Like, it is
That's
an
really cool.
ever fighting struggle to hold it at bay. And the sign of that is, if you are ever foolish enough to delve into those regions, you run into Michael's aberrations. You run into these things that are like, you run into horrors, and you're like, oh my god. Like, this.
They're holding this back
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
That's fun.
So, are there 10 cities? Are there 9
Ooh.
cities?
There were 10.
Are there 9? The question is just, do these gods protect their people wherever they are? And so wherever enough dwarves gather, an envelope of safety will be created. I also like that because it helps me understand why in this world, right? The thought that all of the various species because they are different genetic creatures that probably could not have children together, right? If the reason they gather together is, I like the idea that diversity is literal, magical, mechanical strength. It's like, yeah. If only dwarves settle an area, the dwarven god will protect you. But if some dwarves and some elves and some halflings and some other shit all settle there, you get these like layers of protection. There are envelopes that they compound with one another and create greater safety.
I think that the answer to the initial question is, it's not just 10 cities. There might be like
Be
or
kinda
9
cool.
cities.
Be kind of cool if there was. I'm not saying
It'd
we're
be
gonna do it.
pretty cool.
Be kind of cool.
There could be 9 like great cities and a 10th unified great city where it's like the perfect amount and the perfect location, and they're protected very well from outside influence because they're all there. But I do think that if you have a quorum of elves, you're going to be protected. If you've got 10,000 elves in a spot in the woods, it's enough that there's a level of protection to it.
So
it's just getting them out somewhere to then set up and get protected is hard as hell, because those monsters are going to attack before they get set up.
So these are 9 like temple cities, each one dedicated to one of the gods, and it's not that they are necessarily the safest or the best. It is where the power is most concentrated, because it is where those gods are the most exalted. It is where they are the most like praised. Last major divine question: are these gods slumbering beneath the earth? In which case, maybe the humans are like looking for the other gods or to kill them and share their fate, right? If humans are a revenge story, then that would change. Maybe they're not looking for the dead human god. Maybe that corpse is just in the ground somewhere. Maybe they are looking for the others. They are looking for vengeance.
That's pretty cool.
Or,
and it would explain why they're spread around the world instead of just in one location.
Yeah. Or the gods have abandoned their corporeal forms. I think both things are really fun options that just push in different directions.
I like that if the curse isn't gather and bring me back, the curse is spread and find the gods in their slumber and kill them all. That's pretty sick. That's pretty badass.
It also gives us a good incentive for why a routine mission is go kill these things. I like the idea that when they expand too far in the wrong direction, a priest receives a vision that says,
"Stop!"
Oh! Yeah, that's like, we gotta go now. And it also gives us the really fun opportunity to put Space Marines in setting. To have, like, what are they? It is the Domini Canaria. They like huge
Badass
plate armor,
clerics.
pole arms. And it's like, what are they? They are orbital drop troopers that arrive at the first sign of prophecy. They just like arrive from, like, they halo drop from low orbit.
Yeah, it's sick.
Okay. So the gods are sleeping beneath the earth. I think that's very cool. And I like a lot that humanity sacrifices themselves for everyone else. Maybe there's a couple of stories lingering around where the first couple of people to ask what happened, the gods were like, they sacrificed themselves for you. Like,
Mhm.
don't ask more questions about that if you don't mind.
And that's all we'll say on that subject.
And I like the idea that then these other 9 gods, they set about to making their own races and building the world and building a beautiful world. And then they start to notice this like bilious corruption, this rotten god's influence. And eventually they need to begin to slumber. I really like the idea that the dwarves, the elves, the kender, or whatever they are, they remember the day that the gods went to sleep. They remember the day that they went beneath ground, that they could no
Can you go ahead and
longer
write down
stay
the
with
rotten
us.
god real quick?
I'll write it down. Spencer's like, real quick.
Just RQ.
The rotten god. Okay, 2 questions. What do we call these fucked up human nasties, and what do we call the gas? We can't call it methane.
My pitch for the methane is shimmer.
Pretty good.
That's fun.
It is always very fun for it to be like pretty.
Yeah.
It's very fun. This rotten god letting off this like scintillating rainbow gas. And then what do we call these guys? Because we have to be very careful. If it's supposed to be a big fun twist that they are the humans, we cannot call them Terrans. We cannot call them like Humies. Like we can't, you know. Weirdly, if it wasn't an iconic thing, turning Terran into Tyrannid would be really good. It would be really good. Unfortunately, this little game, this niche game called Warhammer, has beaten us there by a healthy margin. This little.
Let's think about what do they do? They dig. They.
I gotta ask an awkward question.
Yeah.
They don't fuck normal, do they?
Probably not. These could be the same creatures that were cursed a billion years ago.
Yeah. So, but if they turned humans into these things don't like bang normal, do they? Like they don't.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying they might not even have that. They might not even have a choice to reproduce. These could be the humans from 10,000 years ago, and they've never made new ones. It's just these 96,000 humans that got turned into whatever we're about to name them.
How have
They
they
can't-
not all been killed? Do they come back?
I just don't think that there's been a concerted effort to kill them. 1, 2, they all hide underground. How are you going to find all of them? They're probably trying to kill all of them. Hard as hell to do, especially if you're in a points of light setting. You can't say, we're going to kill every dragon out there and be like, but we also really can't go out there and do that.
I guess my only slide pitch would be it is helpful to stop thinking of them as humans, and it is helpful to start thinking of them as human souls. Where it's like, oh, I chopped its head off, and it's like, great. Where do you think its soul went? To the body of the rotten god, and then it oh yeah, there it is. They're maggots in the body of the rotten god. They crawl from beneath its flesh every time they're killed. They reemerge again, ready for vengeance. What do we call them?
Can't call them maggots because that would
No.
show that we know what they
A
are.
little fun.
But somebody would have to know.
Yeah.
I guess unless a god called them that. If a god told their cleric, like, you have to deal with the maggots, and they got an image of the thing, and that's what they started calling them, it's
I
pretty
do
cool.
really love the idea that the other gods have this like disdain. Like it's fun if they would either disdain or reverence. I think are both fun. I like that the mystery either needs to be why do the gods hate these things so much, or the mystery needs to be whenever we receive the word of, you know, Mordhammer, he says like, I regret to inform you that you must he's always like very deferential to them. I think is also a fun angle of it being like, why did they speak about them in such reverent tones? Like it is so tragic for them to have to be killed.
I think because none of these gods aren't a monoculture, some of them, specifically like the really honorable gods, would speak with reverence, and some of them that would be like disgusted with themselves for making the humans do it, or just disgusted by the things that they're looking at, would call them, you know, flesh crawlers or whatever. But I think that some of the gods react differently than other ones, and the party would be like, why does Mordhammer think that these guys are cool as hell, but Lady Death thinks that they're disgusting. What's
I'm,
going on?
I'm excited to nail that down next episode. I really
Yeah,
immediately. I'm
same.
like that's tight.
Yeah.
So like,
My
are they
pitch-
rotlings? Are they the rotten? Michael?
But my pitch was because the gods kind of like the unburdened. Um, that or like the sullied.
Solid is cool. I was thinking like they're called the Bloat.
Gentlemen, I think we need to return to that deepest and sweetest of wells of dungeon masters near and far, thesaurus.com.
Yeah.
So true.
And then
I do want
all-
to say the bloated, I think is fun. I think it
Bloated's
captures
definitely
the
fun.
energy of the rotten, but it's weird enough. It also tells me, like, are these things corpulent? Are they, like, what do they
They're
look?
full of gas.
Well,
What
they're
are they-
nasty.
What do they look? Yeah, but are they, like, breathing the gas? Or, because if we make them, like, I hate to say it, if you make them, like, big and chunky, again, you're drawing kind of a fart parallel in a way that I don't know if I can get into. If they've got, like, big swollen stomachs, it gives the energy of, I'm gonna fart so bad that you die, which is not my favorite.
yeah.
Kind of Shrek maxing in a way.
How about if they're more like craterous, like steam pockets?
Like they have a bunch of holes in their body that spit
Yeah.
out gross gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do really like the idea that in this world, necrotic damage is it's divine magic that's gone bad.
Mm.
It's like no. Necrotic's not the opposite. It is holy damage that has gone rotten. That's gone sour.
Bastardized.
It's the sour
Yeah.
milk. And that means in this world, what I really like, necromancers and liches and stuff, the reason that they are considered big nasties is they dabble in this stuff. They inhale the gas. They eat the flesh. They get into it. Like, I think liches tie themselves to the rotten god. They like make themselves partially. They graft human limbs onto their body, like fucking Vecna's hands, that they can connect their soul.
The only living beings knowing that there's a rotten god below the surface of the world being liches that would never give up that secret, and that being the secret to lichdom is really cool. I gotta say.
The image of like you peer into the mind of the Archlich and you see him in the center of the world, gazing at a rotten corpse the size of a mountain, and you watch as he with a tentative hand like reaches out, rips out a clump of flesh and raises it to his mouth. You're like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah. So with every lich, they get something they call the pure flame, and it's a gaslight, but of this pure methane from this god, and it's just lit up, and it's a black light.
That's the
keep it
phylactery.
It's just a little bit of white light, but black flame.
A flame that must
they call
never go out.
They call it ambergris, right? Like the rarest bit of fat from the god itself. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, it is 9 o'clock. It's been an hour and a half.
We did start late. We should talk for 2 or 3 more
True.
minutes.
I was
Fair.
gonna say it's kind of a cool end, but
we only have one thing left. What do we call these dudes? Are they the bloated? Are they the rotten? Are they what are these things? What do you call
I'm gonna look up
these
synonyms for
stench.
bloat.
these rotten little guys?
There's like dissimilar words. Void. That's not gonna work.
Let's think about okay.
Glut?
Let's really tap into the brain space here. How would you name this creature? You would watch them do thing, and then you would call them something related to that, right? If you keep following those things back, pretty much everything's name is something that it does that is twisted a little bit. So you're looking at these creatures. What happens? You're underground, you break into a new cave, and there are hundreds? Are there a lot of them? Do they travel in huge packs? Or do you run into 20? So there's
Like
just an easy
20.
question. Do we want to run into like 15 or 20? Or do you break through a wall and there are 6,000 filling the cave in front of you?
I think that you run into groups of like 20.
Okay.
And if you find like a big group, you're talking like 100, and
So
that's
that means-
bad.
So that means that individually, these things are incredibly dangerous, right? Because a platoon of soldiers in this time, medieval equipment, is going to be like 80 to 150. It's going to be a lot because you need people to be in front, people to be in the middle, you need serfs for the front, you need people to fire arrows, right? It's a lot of dudes. So that means 20 of these things comfortably handles, 40 or 50 normal people. So that tells me something about them. Running into one of these things already sucks. Running into one of them is bad. Running into 10, 15, 20 of them is super bad. What happens? Do they immediately start to tear people to pieces? Do they, eat corpses? Or do they just kill everything they run into? Are they just single-minded murder machines?
I think that it's like a two-folded problem. Typically, when you encounter these things, there's going to be massive pockets of gas. So the initial people who ran into them just die because they breathe in gas and pass away. And then their bodies are eaten by these monsters. The ones who survive, I think they probably get ripped apart. They're probably just bestial attackers.
But they're not eaten. They aren't consumed. These things aren't zombies. They're not eating these things. They just tear every living thing they run into to pieces.
Yeah.
So I think that will help with the name a lot here, right? They don't make more, so I don't think they would be associated. I don't think they would call them disease. I don't think they would associate them with a plague or whatever, because they don't make more. They just kill every single thing they run into and are looking for something, right? There's something that they are looking for, and it's not us. They kill us when they run into us, but they don't follow because they would follow us. They would follow back up the tunnel. They never do. They never go back up to the city. Yeah. So they would be more like wolves. They would be seen more like wolves and predators that are out there. Why don't you go in the woods? Fucking wolves are there. Why don't you go below ground? Those things are out there, right? So it's so they're threatening and they hunt you. They follow you, they pursue you, they tear you to pieces, they move on to the next target. I think tells us quite a lot. It moves me away from the bloat a little bit and a little bit more to the warren. Right? I'm imagining warrens and rats. These I know rats eat everything, but in my mind, right, there's this gnashing, screaming horde that pushes through, annihilating everything in its path and comes out on the other side and leaves the bodies and equipment behind.
It's hard because we're talking about them as a hive. So calling the collection of them blow is fine, or, a warren of them. But the individual name of the creature is a little bit harder for me to grasp. My first thought was it would be fun if it was a misunderstanding from before they knew what these things were. They still don't know what they are. But before they really started fighting back, if it was just the name they gave them, when they would see them and most of the people would die from an invisible gas that they didn't understand. So some sort of illusory reference, or there's a landscape spell that I'm thinking of that I can't point out. You know what I mean? And that name just persisted even beyond our understanding now that that's not really what
it's
they
an
are.
8th level illusion spell that makes an illusory terrain but worse.
Yeah, I just keep thinking Death Cloud.
So I like that though. So they're thought of as they're kind of the canary.
Yeah.
They're not what's scary. It's the gas that was scary, right? When they first discovered these things. You would see one and everybody would drop dead. So they weren't thought of yet as hyper predators. They were thought of as the black dog. They were thought of as
hear me out. What if we called them mirages? You see one, it's a mirage. Because people didn't think they were real. They thought it was something you see on the edge of death. Because you're about to pass out, you run away, one of them survives and is I saw something in there. And they're nothing is below ground, we just dug that hole. It's a mirage. You saw a mirage.
Omens?
See, I was thinking
Omen's pretty
Reapers.
Reaper's a
I'm
little
gonna
on the
go-
nose. Reaper's a little
gonna
on the nose.
go-
I like it.
Reapers would be a term that I think the people who currently fight them would call them when they're like, those bitches are not omens.
I also
We're dealing with things that are killing us. They're reapers.
I also like that. I think that they, in bulk, are mirages or omens. I think there is a kind of these things that you call a reaper, and it's bad. It's like, oh, these are kind of smart, right? The one that can think the velociraptor of it all gets the sort of reaper tag. Just that we can use that, because I like that as a name. I just think naming all of them that is a little can.
I think that a group of these things is called a mirage. You see a mirage of them. But I think that the individual is called they're omens as like a species. And then there's subcategories. There's Reaper. There'd probably be some version of like a spellcaster that would give a different name,
And
etc.
it also works why they would keep the name. It used to be they were an omen of death. You would see one and drop dead, and you would never know why. And because they don't eat. It's not like they would eat the corpse. They would just leave. So you would never see it again. You'd breach into the tunnel, and you would see one, and then somebody would drop dead. Now they're called omens because seeing one is probably a good thing, because it means there's gas.
Yeah.
So now they're called an omen in the positive. Like, it's a fortune. It's a foretelling. It's, oh, there's an omen of what we are looking for here. It's bad, but that I like that back and forth of like, the name kind of has two meanings. It's like, yeah, man, fucking seeing one has two meanings. Like,
yeah, it's good and bad.
That's fun.
And the fact that mirages leave behind shimmer. I mean, yeah, that's just kind of what's right on the tin. Heat rising off of the pavement. Okay. So, in this episode of DM Writer's Room, we have discovered that there is a world where dwarves have come to a place of dominance by discovering natural gas called shimmer below ground, associated with creatures once called mirages because no one knew if they existed. They are now more commonly referred to as omens, and what almost no one knows is that omens are in fact humans of the distant past who, at the behest of the 9 other gods of the world, killed theirs so that they could begin anew. The 10th god, this greatest and most powerful, refused to let any other creations enter into its world. All the other gods were forced into subservient creation. They essentially deceived humanity into freeing the world from the tyranny of this one god. And in so doing, I think the god laid a curse upon humans that I think humanity in a very real way, like, accepted. Like, I think humans sort of layered their own curse atop it, which is all will share our fate in a very real way that I think is fun. They now claw through the earth in pursuit of the other 9 gods, and you are a member of either one of the cities or one of the many places that are small points of safety in a world that is, at least in part, rotten. You live a comfortable life. Most people are never exposed to these dangers, but if you leave the limits of the city, if you go beneath ground, if you go out, you run the risk of encountering why people don't. There is a deep and dark truth to the world, and you are in kind of a constant battle to keep your city alive and to beat back these creatures from the many divine corners of the world. So a campaign takes one of 2 angles. You're either working on survival and expansion in a magical world, or you are religious helldivers dropping behind the lines to fight these creatures and beat back the hordes of strange things. With all that being what it is, that's our concept. We will almost certainly return next time. We have about 30,000 things about this world to still figure out.
Yeah.
We're going to probably I want to spend some time with the gods and their creations. And we need not be limited by what is in the player's handbook. We can really sort of, swing wide and see what we find there. With all that being what it is, thank you so much for watching. Most essential things to check out right now. Obviously, tune into our streams Sunday and Tuesday. On Sunday, you can check out Game Masters, Masters of Games. Right now, we're on a pretty deep Magic tear, but we will We often play video games as well. We've just been on the kick for a little while now. Maybe once something new comes out that we're excited by, we'll jump in another direction. You can catch Michael beating the brakes off of Spencer and I if you go watch our old budget mashup that we did a little while ago. We built ultra budget $20 decks. That was really fun. You can check out some of that. Other major thing, of course, on Spotify, on YouTube, and a variety of other places where podcasts can be found, you can catch our first fully produced podcast, which Spencer dutifully managed to work over from streams, The Prince of Charming. It's a Monster of the Week game, lovingly recut into a more digestible form. You should definitely go check that out. And you can catch the first episode of Leviathan's Wake. That is our Blades in the Dark adventure. I think there's going to be, you said 9 episodes in total?
I believe 9, yeah.
Somewhere in that area. There'll be like, 10 to 12.
8 to 10.
8 to 10 episodes of that show. That is our Blades in the Dark run through. Big benefit there. That one is not being adapted from a stream and having to be sort of cut and chopped together. That was made for that. And we have other fun things that we're working on now that you'll be able to catch in the not too distant future. So check those out. They come out on Mondays. Check out the streams. They're Sundays and Tuesdays. We got the beginning of your week covered. You can check out all our stuff. And don't worry, we're not going to get anywhere near Thursday. We're going to just stay far away from that.
Leave that alone.
Configure.
That day doesn't exist to us.
I get the feeling if you watch this channel, you might be kind of busy on Thursday.
Yeah,
I'm not
maybe.
sure. Maybe. Thank you all so much for watching. We will catch you on the next one. Peace out.